Welcome to the Legal Shark Tank, Strategies for DUI and Beyond with Shane the Shark, where we'll discuss the complexities of the legal system, demystify the process of criminal defense, and provide you with the tools and confidence to navigate your case.
Hello and welcome to the Legal Shark Tank, Strategies for DUI and Beyond with Shane Herzner. I'm your host, Kevin Rosenquist. Shane, I'm excited about today's episode. Welcome.
Thanks so much. Yeah, I'm excited too. It sounds like a fun subject to talk about.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about some celebrity DUI cases out there, just for some insight from a pro like yourself. What do you think makes celebrity DUI cases such a focus? Why in the media? Why are we so enamored? Maybe not enamored is the right word, but why are we so interested in them?
I think it's like anything else with celebrities. We're always amazed, or it's almost like that, wow, they got into trouble type thought process. We like to see that, kind of like that car accident that everybody stops for when you're in a hurry to get to your office that morning. Everybody's stopping. It's just a fender bender. I don't know. It's one of those things where people are just really like to hear about celebrities, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah, I guess that's a really good point. Yeah. Stand on the line at the grocery store. You see plenty of it. Yeah.
Yes.
How do the legal repercussions for celebrities in DUI cases differ, if at all, from what us average Joes would experience?
I think that oftentimes, because they're celebrities and their names are out in the news, which is a little bit different than maybe 10 to 15 years ago, or even longer than that. Now, I don't know how much latitude celebrities are given like they used to be, because most of the time courts want to make an example, say, hey, look, we're not treating this person any different than somebody else. This person's going to get a sentence, and it's not going to be lighter just because they're a celebrity, or we're not going to treat them any different because they're a celebrity. About the biggest difference that I've seen with celebrity DUIs, and I don't know if it's because of the court, maybe that those particular courts operate that way, but the cases seem to drag out a lot longer than the cases that I have. Some cases will drag out for months, years, or they'll give them a continuance until after the end of a sports season or till after they're filming stuff. That doesn't happen a lot for a real person. So that's probably the biggest difference that I've seen with celebrities versus regular cases.
Do you think that they might actually get harsher treatment due to their fame?
I think in some instances, yes. I think they do, but most of the time, no. I mean, especially on first offense OVIs. OVIs or DUIs are incredibly serious. So don't get me wrong by thinking that I'm trying to downplay it. But most of the time for first offense, people get minimums unless there's an accident or injury or things like that. Mm-hmm. So there's not a lot of difference, especially on these first offense. And most celebrities, kind of like real people, once you get one, that's it. You never hear about them again, because they kind of understand the process of that and the severity. But it's the person that gets more will definitely be treated more severely. But for the most part, I think they're treated just the same as a regular person. But I do think there are a couple examples where they were probably treated a little bit harsher than they should have.
I feel like that I wonder if maybe because of technology and social media and whatnot, that maybe at one point, maybe in the past, an officer might be more prone to being like, I liked you in that movie, I'm going to let you go. But now with technology, that they're more likely to be nervous about maybe giving someone some leeway because they don't want to get in trouble themselves.
Absolutely. And I think also not just social media, but the fact that most police agencies have body camera now too, because that's a big component. The body cam's monitored by the police departments. And so if somebody else sees it, they're like, hey, well, you let this guy off. I think the days of no longer arresting somebody because of the fact that they're a celebrity, it's few and far between now with the advent of that. And then, like you said, social media just blows things up because no one can keep a secret. So if somebody did, it's going to get all over the place, and there's going to be a lot of scrutiny involved. So yes, I think it's much more difficult. And even nowadays, talking with some of the officers that I know, they're like, yeah, the days of us talking with people or driving somebody home, unfortunately, those are long gone.
Yeah, I remember hearing that, especially in smaller towns, where it'd be like, oh, someone pulls them over, Charlie, just get home. Come on, yes. I'll follow you. Get this thing home. Like it's those kind of things. You heard those stories all the time, especially in small towns, and I'm guessing that's probably pretty rare these days.
I think it is. I think it's more rare now than what it's ever been.
What do you think the role of public relations strategy plays in shaping how a celebrity DUI case might be perceived by the public and, of course, then in the courtroom?
Yeah, one of the things that I've noticed a lot on these celebrity cases, it's way different, obviously, than just your normal OVI. And even me I've represented NFL players and things like that. First thing you got to do is you've got to issue the apology. You've got to get ahead of the public perception game.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll see that even in the Timberlake case and things like that. Of course, he was on there immediately with the media doing those type of things. So you will see that even before whether they take responsibility or plead guilty or whatever it is that they do, they always issue an apology almost right away. Anyway, I've seen that quite often in these celebrity cases, whether it's DUI or quite frankly, any kind of case.
Anything. Yeah, you're right.
There's always some sort of apology without admission of guilt there, but that's incredibly common nowadays. And I can see why, because you want to get that perception of, hey, look, you shouldn't be doing this. I'm not saying I'm guilty of it yet, but nobody should be doing this offense, drinking and driving, if they're impaired, too impaired to drive.
And you also see it from the teams too, where, we're investigating this. We take this very seriously. We, blah, blah, blah. Everyone's got to make sure they say the right thing.
Yeah. It seems to take, I will say that it seems to take forever for police departments to investigate crimes involving celebrities too. So that is something, because they want to make sure if they're going to charge these people, I guess they run through and cross all their T's and dot all their I's, because most of the time when I get a client, they're not waiting 3 or 4 weeks before they make a formal arrest. They're arresting them right away, and they have a court date within a week, where some of these celebrity cases, they do tend to wait around and do more investigation than on a normal case.
Let's talk about a few cases. You brought up the Justin Timberlake one. He pled guilty to a lesser charge after his Long Island DWI arrest, and he admitted that he made a mistake. So any insights on how that one went down? Yeah,
I mean, that one's kind of interesting, because whenever I represent somebody, or especially if it's a media case, the last thing in the world I do is categorically say, well, my client's absolutely innocent. I always say, hey, wait for the facts before we make any judgment. Wait for the facts.
Mm-hmm.
Where I think the attorney in that case is like, well, the officer is completely wrong here. And then they end up doing a plea. I was like, that doesn't make a lot of sense if the officer made all these mistakes and did all this stuff wrong that you originally had said, and now you're entering a plea to a reduced charge. I was kind of confused about that. But then again, I don't have access to all the discovery. So maybe
sure, of course,
that attorney saw something different at a later time. I'm like, yeah, hey, look, it's in everybody's best interest. Or maybe it was the client that said, look, I understand I have some defenses, but I want to get this done and over with. I want to get past it. If it means me pleading to a reduced charge, I will do it just to get it resolved. But I did see, yes, he pled fairly quickly on that case. And immediately after, he issued the apology at his press conference. And as part of his plea, it's my understanding that he also has to do some public safety announcements on the dangers of drinking and driving. There's a lot of responsibility that was taken. I mean, his sentence was, from my understanding, speaking with friends in practice in New York, was a pretty standard and typical plea deal and plea arrangement for his case. I just wish the attorney wouldn't have came out fighting right away and then entering a plea to a reduced charge later on.
Another one that was a pretty sad one, Henry Ruggs III, the former Alabama football player who was drafted by the Las Vegas Raiders, and he was involved in a fatal DUI crash, which resulted in the death of a woman and her dog. Can you kind of talk about how fatalities change the DUI case, especially when a high profile athlete or celebrity is involved?
Yeah, there's nothing to say about this one, but it was absolutely a tragedy. It's my understanding that the other person was just parked. They're at a stoplight and were rear-ended at that high speed.
Super high speed, yeah.
Yeah, it was over 127 miles per hour. So something crazy.
Jeez.
That was a situation where I think about it all the time when you're an NFL player. I know the teams offer rides. As a matter of fact, I think the Players Association requires that the teams, even though they offer the rides, it has to be anonymous, so the team doesn't know that somebody's asking for that ride and saying, well, hey, you use this drive service. So it's something that doesn't have any effect on the NFL player. They can use that service, and why in this particular case Henry Ruggs didn't, I don't know. I know he was out with his girlfriend, but it is an absolute tragic case for sure. Mm-hmm. Now in that one, I know the attorney representing Mr. Ruggs did file a motion to suppress, and they were doing everything they possibly could do to try to keep the BAC results. I think it was a blood draw in that particular case. So the attorney was working as diligently as possible. But you can see the fact once that motion was denied and the blood results were going to come in, they pretty much worked out a plea deal in that case, because you do on a fatality, especially a person like that, you want to try to get that case resolved. And again, speaking with friends that I know that practice out in that area, it was a pretty typical sentence for Henry Ruggs on that case. So the attorneys, I thought, did a great job at least fighting it, trying to do everything they could do. And once they found out they weren't going to win on that avenue, it was probably best to get it resolved.
Yeah, sad situation. There was also one with Bruce Springsteen where he was charged with a DUI at a national park in New Jersey, but was later found to have a low blood alcohol level. This kind of raised questions about maybe over policing public figures and making them, holding them to a different standard. How did you feel about that one?
Yeah, and this is where we talked about sometimes you do get kind of a harsher treatment, and this is one of the situations where I think it was. I mean, There was no reason in the world to do this other than try to embarrass him and put his name out there. And I think once level-headed people got together and discussed this, like I said, then the charges went away. So that's what should have happened in this particular case, and it should never have been charged from the beginning. But this is one where I think the police agency was. They were trying to make an example out of this person because he was a known celebrity, where if this was maybe a local resident that was caught doing the same thing with no notoriety, then it may have been a different situation.
Apparently that officer was not a fan of the song Dancing in the Dark.
I guess not.
Did not like that one.
Who doesn't like Bruce? That's what I
know. I mean, it's pretty like like his music or not. It's not like offensive, It's pretty just standard old music, I mean, it's yeah. And then the last one I wanted to bring up was another former NFL player, Marshawn Lynch, formerly with the Seattle Seahawks, most notably. He was arrested for a DUI in Las Vegas with reports suggesting he was driving recklessly. Can you talk about the potential risks of celebrity recklessness and how athletes kind of often face legal trouble after retiring?
The reckless part, anytime it involves another party, I think that's where it gets a lot more complicated, like the Henry Ruggs situation, where at least Justin Timberlake and Springsteen, there was nobody else involved in those situations. So when you get to where you're really in a situation where somebody's either hurt or good chance that somebody was going to get hurt, then it becomes a more serious issue. And I guarantee you, especially in a situation like that, I mean, people know that these celebrities have money too. So when you're in a driving recklessly, and if there's ever an accident, I guarantee you're looking at civil suits that are coming down the line,
sure,
which makes it a bigger deal. But with that in mind, that's why I think celebrities, NFL players, because we hear so much about these NFL players, more so than I think really any other sports. You don't hear, I mean, you hear a few baseball players once in a while, or coaches. I think there was a coach recently that got in trouble for DUI, but mostly it's football players.
It's very true.
And I don't know what it is about that particular sport that does that. But yeah, I mean, they've got to use their best judgment in situations like this and just drive. I mean, because I think there was a case where a Kansas City receiver too just recently got in trouble in Texas or something like that.
Was it Rashee Rice maybe?
Yes, I think
yeah, it was. Yeah, that's right. I remember that. Yeah, you're right.
And that was street drag racing or going through lanes, and that one actually caused an accident where somebody was hurt. So those are situations where, man, I guess it's easy for me to say, and they're driving these incredibly fast sports cars and
Ferraris
things like that. Man, you just got to use better judgment in situations like that, especially when you have, not that it's ever good to do it, but man, you have so much to lose. Yeah. You have a lot more than a common person by driving recklessly, and that's not even putting into the thought people's lives that you're putting in danger that have nothing to do with your actions. So it's just got to use better common sense and judgment when they're doing things like that. Because some of these players also, I mean, they have targets on their backs because they've been in trouble before. I mean, look at Antonio Brown, man. All he has to do is spit the wrong way, and people are all over him. So a lot of it comes with being in trouble before too. I think Joe Mixon is an example here in Cincinnati where there was a charge that he had faced, and eventually I think the charges were dismissed just because of who he was and his background. So it's even more important if you have had prior legal issues before.
Yeah, I've heard some celebrities say that. Like I remember famously Peyton Manning saying like he's like I don't go out. I don't go out with the boys. I don't go out. It's just because you made that point of there's so much to lose. Whether it's some drunk Yahoo at a bar trying to challenge him to a fight just to put it on social media or like whatever it is. I think Floyd Mayweather was another one that said he just refuses to go out because people are always like messing with him, which is insane because it's like the last person you should want to mess with. But he's got like there's some sort of like beer muscle-y thing that people like to mess with him, and that's so they just don't go out.
We have Adam Jones the same way. I mean,
oh yeah, that's right.
Jones here in Cincinnati.
Pac-Man, yeah.
It's just crazy. People do. They find, and I've met him. He's the nicest guy in the world. But man, anybody that sees him out, they will do anything just to get under his skin, and that's a shame. But that kind of comes with the territory, unfortunately, especially when you have that reputation of being that type of person. So it's even more reason to keep a close circle and just keep with friends that you know.
How do you feel like these kind of cases that we discussed impact public awareness or maybe even attitudes toward drinking and driving laws?
What I think is important about this and what I tell my clients is anybody can get a DUI. I've represented blue collar workers. I've represented police officers. I've represented NFL players. So any line or type of person can get these type of charges. So when they see celebrities that get them, I think it is important for them to do the public safety announcements and to get out there and let them know, look, I made a mistake too. Because most overwhelming vast majority of my clients are first-time offenders. So after they make this mistake of getting behind the wheel after having alcohol, they never do it again, or at least the majority of them don't do it again. And I think that's why it's important to hear celebrities who have been in that situation say, look, this is what I did. I learned from my mistake. I will never do it again. So they don't feel like, hey, well, it's just, I'm like on this island. I can't believe I got this. Well, a lot of people get these offenses. If you're going to bars or going to restaurants and drinking, you're putting yourself out there no matter how much you have to drink every single time that you go to do that. So it's one of those things where it kind of, I guess, makes people more aware of what's going on.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Well, thank you very much, Shane, for talking through some of those interesting cases. And thank you all for listening to the Legal Shark Tank Strategies for DUI and Beyond. If you'd like to get in touch with Shane, his website is herznerlaw.com. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. We love having you here. Shane, always great to see you. Thanks for chatting with me.
Thanks again, Kevin. I appreciate it.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.